I'm looking for the agenda.
October 21st.
The October 21st, 2024 meeting of Newcastle's Environmental Review Board to order. Good evening, everyone. Present, we have Ivan Alter, Corey Seeker, David Horowitz, Dennis as always. Okay, so first order of business is we have several minutes in the queue.
Right,
But without Ted, are we
that are going to carry over to the next meeting because,
okay?
Ted is the outlier, so
Alright,
officially can't approve these, so yep.
so does it even make sense to discuss last week's? It really doesn't. We'll wait until we have Ted.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys had comments or whatnot, you can present them, but other than that,
Okay, yeah.
okay,
Alright, we'll
So
take
that-
care of it when we take care of it.
alright,
Alright,
next,
so first returning applications, wetlands permit for 55 Taylor Road. Who is here for the applicant?
Hi, this is Nicholas Shariah with Hudson Engineering. I'm appearing for the owners Mark and Marissa Kornblau, who are also on the meeting.
Hi.
How you doing? So since this is a continuation from the last meeting, do you guys want me to go over the parameters of the scope of the project?
Yeah, maybe just a quick overview. We had one of our members was not present at the last meeting, so just to orient us.
Okay, so the proposed work for this project is construction of a new swimming pool, surrounding terrace, walkways,
Nick,
and
do you wanna share your screen?
oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah,
That's all
sure.
right. Thank you.
1 second. Okay. There you go. Okay, so
Thank you.
okay, let me start from the beginning here. Okay, so this is the existing site as is. It's a single family dwelling in the R1A zoning district on a 1.65 acre lot. The applicants are seeking to construct a swimming pool with a surrounding patios and terraces, walkways, with a new stormwater system to treat all that new impervious area for the 100-year storm event. I'll go to the second page, which shows a little the site layout. So the pool, patios, everything is in the rear yard. We have some landscaping along the rear and the side yards to provide screening for from neighboring properties. There'll also be a fence and gates that are compliant with the New York State code for swimming pools. There'll also be a new walkway in the front yard as well. And as I said, new walkways, patios, and some grading for the project here in the rear yard.
And where is the wetland?
Oh, sorry. So the wetland area is actually in the rear yard here. I'll zoom in. Let me see if I can put this zoomed in here for you. So the area in question is this area right here. All right, 1 second, I'll zoom in. Okay, so it's this tip of the corner of the rear yard. We had this area staked and flagged by our wetlands consultants at William Kenny over a year ago. So this area is just what is being called wetlands, although can't really say that they are officially wetlands, but they're staked as wetland areas. So this line here represents the 100-foot wetland buffer that comes onto the rear of the lot at 55 Taylor Road. So we are showing some disturbance within the 100-foot buffer, but most of the work is related to the screening that we're providing for the swimming pool, and there is some grading that will be done in the rear yard for the to accommodate the swimming pool. We're essentially flattening out the area behind the house to place the swimming pool and the patios. So there'll be some grading in the wetland buffer in the side yard here to accommodate that.
What's there now within the,
So right now, there's really nothing here. I can go back to the existing conditions to show you.
you have any
It's
photos of what's
grass
there
and
now?
landscape areas. There is a wood deck off the rear of the house with some steps. There's a play area here for the Corn Blouses children. But really, there's just open space here in the backyard.
It's lawn,
It's great.
yeah,
Yeah.
predominantly, yeah.
Along the rear and the side yards here, there is some vegetation. And actually on September 18th, myself, the landscape architect for the project, Jared Gavsey, and Dennis met on the site. We walked the site because we wanted to clarify the location and extent of the wetlands on 55 Taylor. At that meeting, we concluded that the area of concern, which again is this area here, that we would remove all the plantings that we were proposing for screening in this area. We'll move it away from this area to preserve this wetland area that's been flagged. So we're really not disturbing any wetlands in this area, although we will be working the buffer.
Dennis, what is the nature of that wetland?
Right, so it basically, it's like an incised, it's a part intermittent water course, and it's unfortunately, that area kind of represents a no man's land, for lack of a better description, because there are multiple properties that like overlap. And I know you hadn't had the benefit of it, but like this brown mass here, basically, which is, you know, an aerial winter shot of the rear. This is like a dugout area covered in porcelain berry. There's a ditch on the backside from this property owner. There's some ditching inside. So whatever's happening there in terms of the water that's accepted in this area, and then obviously it's carried through that water course, which, you know, really initiates, or course, I should say, at wetlands flag 1 and 3. I ended up, please don't have me arrested trespassing, obviously, because when I was back there investigating, because you kind of get lost, you eventually reached an area that had like almost like a Y of these two channels. One was sort of coming off of the backside property owner. It almost looked like it was dug out. The other, it looked like it was just starting to, not starting to, it had eroded and just created its own sunken, what's the word I'm looking for? Not drop hole, catch hole, I'm sorry, I can't even think of the word. Sinkhole, thank you. That's what it looked like. You actually, I mean, some tree roots were exposed and whatever, so there's water that goes back there. So it made sense, you know, not only from this project's perspective, but even to try to plant up into the property corner, you know, for those that are fans of geometry. I'm like, okay, but the reality is that those plantings would have a very tough time, because since this encompasses a number of properties, you're only going to be able to deal with the invasives on your little corner, and then you're still going to have that massive population there just doing its thing. So really the major change, which I think was a benefit, was to just cut it off as you see and just kind of leave that triangle alone, which represents this overgrowth and historical carvings and cuttings and channelings and whatever, just so that the water continues to do what it does.
Just what intermittent, a rainstorm comes, it flows in that area.
Exactly, and there's someone here with more provenance than I who, you know, could speak to it as one of the neighbors. If I misspeak about any of those conditions, feel free to
I mean, with a
chime in.
major, when we have a major rainstorm, it flies off both that property and the property behind them, which you can't, it's not marked, mine is Putnam right there. So, Benza, yes, okay, I knew I was forgetting, yeah, so Benza, and Cornblower, what was formerly Cornblower, which was Hooker before that, but it kind of comes together in the back and comes into our backyard. Behind that 24, that 24-inch maple, Dennis, is our big maple, right? The one in the middle,
Mhm.
so right behind there, it's all what you was referred to as the sinkholes or I call them divots. And a lot of exposed roots, and so it will pull in a big way if there's a big storm.
So
It
it's
comes-
draining down from the properties this way,
Exactly,
like a confluence of.
exactly.
You can't see it here as well, there's, to your point, like you were mentioning that other, this is like one carving that somebody put this in, this to me is not natural, so this is conveying water, this is the subject property of the application up here. This is a level spreader they have on their property with some water coming out of a pipe, and then as you get into the mass of porcelain berry, there's another dugout channel in here, so there's just a fair amount of water that
So when it
courses
does
through
it
this
here, what
neighborhood.
is it there?
Well, there's a small creek.
Here it just continues on to, what's the roadway?
Clubway.
To the Clubway, and this is what's mapped, this water course.
Okay.
And this just happens to represent the mapped aquifers from Westchester County, there's just, we've talked about it in our office, there's.
But there's a defined route that the water takes.
Absolutely,
to
yeah,
leave the
and
properties.
everybody was moving towards that defined route and whatever they developed over time in that no man's land area.
But with the very hard rain, I think it doesn't hit that. Well, that porcelain he's talking about, that new drain, or the drainage that he can see in the aerial view, I'm pretty sure that was put in by Benza because all of their water was flying into the Nix pool, which is number 16 Clubway, including mud, like twice the pool had to be drained.
But isn't that also because of what happened, I'm not obviously part of anything, just I happen to be a neighbor, who lived there a long time. Wasn't part of that problem because of how the other property had been developed at the corner of Taylor?
Oh, I don't think so, that's way up there.
No, actually,
Oh, I don't know,
Issues
but
with
I know it
water
was Benza, and
going down.
Benza has it must be like a 2-foot drain in their front yard, and that just shoots straight to the Nix. So I think, which is 16
right,
Club.
because the
So I think
problem-
that's what that is, that catch drain, because she said since they did that, they haven't had that. I mean, it was mud that came from their pool into, so that would be the third. There's about 4 properties that come together right there at that wetland flag 3.
Right.
So the one that you can barely see, that tiny little corner, is 16 Clubway.
Okay.
Which is what my land joins. So my only concern, the only reason why I'm here essentially is because that corner where my maple is, as I said, behind that, my property slopes down and it really does get, there used to be, I called them riverlets, like it would just fly off in these rivers and start pooling back there. So I don't know if this is gonna increase or decrease, I mean, we'll have to see.
So, if I may interject, I think that area, Dennis, and you can attest to this since you were there, that area is off the property at 55 Taylor. When we were looking, the area that you saw the sunken part of the property. So, our work is really not gonna take us, like I said, we're not gonna be at the property line anymore with anything that we're proposing. All the work that we're doing will be, would only affect this area here. We're not gonna be changing any grades within this area. The only area affected would be on the 55 Taylor, so the Cornblower's property. And like I said, we're not changing the grade here or increasing any runoff from the site here. In fact, all this grassed area that you see that you once had running off your property, off the 55 Taylor property, all this runoff would normally go into the neighboring property here. Sorry, I don't remember the address here, but tax lot 93.11-1-29. We're essentially taking all this area and we're making it impervious area, but we're taking the runoff and we're gonna be directing it into infiltration chambers that are designed for the 100-year storm, so.
Could you go to that drawing, cause just
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
David's benefit, since you and he, RPE, thank you, okay.
Absolutely.
Now, this is the,
Just like
yeah,
that.
which is,
This is our stormwater design. Essentially, all this impervious area will be collected and discharged to these subsurface infiltration chambers. And since we are in we're in the Croton River Basin, we're also need to adhere to DEC standards. which is a little bit more robust, but it's for the 100-year storm. We're providing complete water quality for all impervious areas. So this system is more than capable of handling storm events up to 100 years. So it's a pretty robust system, and we're pretty confident that it will decrease runoff from the site.
Are you just picking up the runoff from the new impervious, or is any of this coming from the house?
No, this is all from the new impervious. The house itself has a system. So these boxes here represent a stormwater system that was installed when the house was built in 2018. As far as I know, they're still functioning up to what they were designed for at that point. They have an overflow to a stone apron here, which if
That's not right there.
sorry, if chambers can't keep up with infiltration, then it overflows at this point.
How long has the homeowner been in the house?
Mark, Marissa,
Yeah, we've been here 4.5 years.
Okay, in your experience, has the existing infiltrators had occasions to overflow into the back there?
I'm not sure you understand that question, Jonathan.
Yeah, no, I don't think they've experienced, hi, this is Jared, the LA on the job. I don't think they've experienced any failure in the system. I
No.
believe it catches all the downspouts and of the house. There's really not much in the ways of other impervious that was original to the house other than the front walkway. So there isn't much in the ways of surface drainage as far as catch basins are concerned. But I don't think they've experienced anything that is been catastrophic to
No,
the
not at
tune
all. Yeah.
of the property not being usable or being too wet after some of the storm events that we've experienced recently. The one thing that I just wanted to add to what Nick has eloquently described in the overall general scheme of the project, and that will also act as a buffer for all of the properties that are downstream, is the level of planting that we're looking to incorporate around the perimeter of the property, which will not only be able to utilize some of the water that naturally falls on the property, but will act as a natural buffer through both the subterranean root system as well as how these plants are going to basically create a dense screening around the perimeter of the property and not allow for the natural grade of the fact that, unfortunately, the properties that are below to the side of this property are downgrade. We can't change the grade of the neighboring properties, so unfortunately, water is going to flow in that direction. But the plantings that we're looking to install above and beyond the relatively generous drainage system that has been designed to collect the additional improved impervious should really actually limit the amount of water that is able to run off on neighboring properties, let alone not contribute to any more.
And to what Jared said before, we haven't experienced any issues at all that we've noticed in our yard.
And when last we met, Dennis, you and the landscape architect were gonna talk plants.
Right, and my only comment that I have, I didn't pick this up until later on Friday, and I just wanted to be respectful of your practice. So the plant schedule, did either A, seem to get cut off, or B, did you intentionally cut it off to only show what was gonna be planted in the buffer to sort of, as a proprietary protection or anything, or?
No, I mean, I'm happy to share. So this project for right now.
Yeah, not a huge deal. I just didn't know, because I just noticed it stopped at one of the, by
think-
Burnham's, yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's possible that it might have just gotten cut off and
Okay,
converted it to a PDF. I believe I only included the perimeter screening
Yeah.
plant list on the actual plan that we were submitting, not necessarily just because we weren't talking about what we were looking to plant around the foundation.
right, that's fine, yeah.
I'm more than happy to share all those lists with you if you wanted to see them.
Okay,
And again, if you have concerns about any species that we did select for the project, I'm more than happy to discuss it. But I know we were most concerned about the 2 or 3 different species we were introducing in and around the perimeter. And that's, I believe, what I made sure that you had copies of.
Right, and you just, I mean, I think we discussed, I mean, it's for the purpose of screening.
Yeah, absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean, you know,
Chappaqua Middle
utilitarian
Lane, yeah.
in nature, but also, you know, just things that can survive and tolerate the situation that this property presents. You know, look good on both sides, will grow successfully in this area, and, you know, just through precedence, you know, plants that work for the purpose as they are designed.
Right, and don't serve as the latch keys for all the porcelain berries, so hence, you know, pull them off the corner, which was, I think, beneficial to everybody, so
Yeah,
I'm
and
fine with that.
as we discussed on site, Dennis, we gain nothing from creating more work by cleaning out an extra 10, 15 feet where that porcelain berry is taken over. We'll obviously keep it at bay, so it
Right.
doesn't attack and grow up and over the existing plants as it has done the, you know, the local deciduous trees behind it. But past that, we're just gonna keep it at bay.
Yeah, agree, it's diminishing returns to try anything else, I agree.
Yeah. So.
I can go back to the stormwater plan if you guys want to continue to discuss. What they're about.
The, I guess on the backside of the pool, is that retaining wall, that concrete block? Detail?
Yeah, this is
The
so
interlocking?
on this side, there's a 4-foot retaining wall on the back side of the pool. And I think I have a detail here.
Yep, no, that's it.
Oh, okay, sorry, yep,
I just wanna make sure that was the,
yep. Yeah, I'm showing a block wall here on detail for that wall.
Yep.
Can I just ask a question just about the placement? I mean, again, I have no knowledge of this stuff, I'm a complete layman. The corner of the 4-foot retaining wall that's like beyond the really fancy drainage system, what catches that? In other words, if there's, since that's part of the impervious materials right there, yeah, that corner, if you have
Here?
water that's coming off there, yeah,
Right, so
where does it go?
edge behind the retaining walls that outlet into the existing drainage system here. Really, yeah, so this existing system can take care of the drainage for the walls. They're not really adding too much square footage as far as impervious area on the retaining walls, but the patios and everything else are all taken care of by the cultic system we're proposing.
You're talking about the aqua pipe that sticks out in the, yeah, the one that is often, Has
in the
water.
gravel,
yeah, oh,
That's
so
the
that's staying
The wrap paper,
back
yeah.
there,
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think they're touching that,
Got
that'd be a
it.
good idea.
right, but. Yeah. Seems to me there's gonna be more water coming out of it.
so just, do you know how from the existing stormwater tank to the outlet, do you know the path that pipe takes? Looks like you're gonna intercept it with the new Coltex.
Sorry, which pipe is it?
The pipe that goes to the stone curtain drain?
This one here?
Yeah,
Okay, so, yeah, so this pipe here is just for drainage for the stone walls. Is that what the question is, or?
No, the existing, I think what David's asking about is the existing drainage from the house. It looks as if,
you're gonna impact it with the new work.
Oh, right, okay, yeah, so, I think I have it, give me 1 second.
I think we're all asking the
Have
same
it here,
question.
so
right?
we're gonna be picking up the existing
I don't know
pipe.
how you
Since
maintain
the
the
pool-
existing.
Since the pool will be placed where that existing pipe is, we're gonna tie it into this new drainage pipe for the retaining wall, which goes to that stone riprap. So this is just an overflow. The system is actually here, excuse me. the stormwater tanks for the house is actually here, but they overflow to this riprap, and we're gonna be replacing this pipe here that runs across the footprint of the pool, and placing it in the walls, the retaining walls, discharge pipes, which go to that stone riprap apron.
Okay, I just didn't see how the pipe, that ties into the existing. I see the drain line, my question was, you've taken into account
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
picking it up and tying it into the existing or running new,
Yeah,
depending on what the size needs to be.
right. Yeah, so again, we're gonna take this pipe offline, this overflow pipe, and we're going to connect these existing pipes into the discharge pipe for the retaining wall.
They should just show
You're
that.
you're gonna take the overflow pipe offline, so they're not going to be an overflow?
No,
from the
it's
existing?
going to connect to this, so the pipe here for the.
So you're gonna rerun it to
Well,
connect.
we're gonna
to the
reroute it,
liquid
yes, correct, because the footprint of the pool goes over this pipe, we're going to take this offline and reroute it to the retaining walls drainage pipe.
They should just kind of show that it works.
Right,
And how
so,
it ties in. It doesn't show it on the plan.
okay, I'll mention that to the town engineer, I assume they vetted that, because obviously there's an existing system that can't be impacted for the right condition of construction.
Is it possible to pick up the water from the retaining wall to the new retention system?
Yes, we can tie it into it, but
It seems to make the most sense, right?
No.
Put it in the whole new system,
Right.
tying in all the new to the
Right,
new
that way
system.
you can size it right and pick
That
up.
was the next
everything.
question.
Yeah,
Why you go through all that search and fix as opposed to.
we
tie it
can
in, yeah.
we can tie it into it, it's not a problem.
Okay.
It's not required, but we can tie it in if it's gonna be an issue, if it is a concern, I should say.
I would also think that would alleviate some of the neighbors' concern of where is all the new stuff going? You can positively say it's going to the new.
Right, that's why I didn't understand where it's placed.
The new tools.
How does it catch that? Yeah, and it,
Okay, so
yeah,
that'll be addressed that way.
great. I
So-
mean, yeah, but it's up. I guess they just figure out the grade.
Yeah. It's gonna be X feet below anyway, so.
So then,
I'll have to figure out.
Nick, let me just ask you this, in your world then, with respect to what has been submitted and reviewed by Bob Cioli, the town engineer, if you were to make this adjustment to accommodate the ERB, which they have the authority to do, what does that mean in terms of your amending a plan, or it's simply, already accounted for and accommodated with respect to the volume that's going into that system? I'm asking because I don't know, I'm not
So
leading the witness by any
the-
stretch.
So the stormwater plans have already been reviewed and approved, Dennis,
Right,
by town engineering. The system as it is oversized. Adding the walls into this is not going to change my system at all. The design is not.
okay.
It is what it is.
Mhm.
We just need to reroute some pipes. The walls themselves don't really add anything of
Right.
significance to the system.
Okay, yeah, I'm just saying, just to save you, any frustrations down the road, I would just vet it now and make sure that if you need to just do something as a minor amendment, even if it's a note on the plan, whatever it is, just get that in now.
Sure.
Because
And
then
I
if it's built and it doesn't mix and match and nobody's getting a C of O, that's always a bad place to be, so.
Yeah, so, and just to
Okay.
chime in, another thing, there is planting between the edge of the pool on
Right.
two sides and the wall. So again, as far as the additional impervious that has warranted the drainage system design, you're going to have water infiltration down to the drainage pipes that sit behind all walls. As Nick pointed out, those are tied into our existing drainage system. And I would say that it's general practice from a contractor standpoint, that if there is the discovery of a pipe in the ground that needs to be relocated to continue the natural flow of water into the riprap as far as the overflow is concerned, or routed into the new system, to ensure that there is no excess water leaving this property and then some, that all that would be done within good practice. Obviously, if a note on the plan is something that would satisfy the ERB, I don't think anyone would have a concern with that, but the general design and amount of Coltex that's going into the ground here is well beyond what a 100-year storm is, and we're all aware of the fact that we experience 100-year storms a lot more often than every 100 years nowadays. So this system has been designed to accommodate the fact that these rain events just unfortunately happen more often than they used to. But really every square inch of impervious between subsurface and surface drainage has been accommodated to make sure that no additional water leaves this property. If anything less than currently does, will stay on this property.
All right, yeah, I'm just trying to, I'm more in an administrative place than I am questioning anything from a technical side, because you'd be surprised how administrative creates a lot of agita in the land of Newcastle. So that's why I'm trying to get you guys to that place.
Absolutely. I just want to, kind of reiterate the fact that, everything that has been designed and what we've been going through for the last several years, above and beyond, make sure that no one in this project, and that's all neighbors, are going to be inconvenienced whatsoever in the conclusion of this project, as well as during the project, as far as fencing is concerned and everything that we do to contain the work environment to the property. So
The Coltex are sized for the full discharge of the pool, the drain down of the pool?
Yes.
So if I understand, the only disturbance within the 100-foot buffer is planting and then a little piece of the patio and the retaining wall, is that correct?
Yeah. So this circle here, if you look at the screen, this is 100-year buffer here. So there's this small section of the wall and some of the planting around the pool that are within 100-year.
I'm just curious why, right? Like it looks like it's like less than 5 feet, maybe. Why wouldn't you pull it out of the buffer to save yourself the concern?
Yeah, I mean, I think Jared can maybe speak to this. I think maybe it's like an aesthetic reason. Keep some plantings around the pool area.
Regrading the yard too, so.
Yeah.
A bit of a change in grade here. Excuse me. There's a change in
If
grade.
it's all just grass. And they're regrading it anyway,
I know I just don't
And
want to sit on.
because we also were grading in this area as well. I mean,
Mhm.
would have to seek approval anyway. So.
Yeah, I mean, exactly as Nick said. So while we could easily pull back the wall in the pool, there's a limited amount of space that we actually have around the pool. As you can see, we can't even circumnavigate around the pool. It's really two-sided as far as your congregation outside of the water, where you have the ability to set up furniture and lounging. And as Nick also pointed out, it's almost impossible to not do any grading within the buffer. The buffer is also something that, as we've gone through this design process over going on almost 4 years now, that the wetland was a more recent discovery. It wasn't something we knew about initially when we started, conceptual planning, and we were only working within the confines of the setbacks and the overall coverage that we were allowed for this project. So there has been a couple of, things brought to our attention, and we've done everything we can to accommodate what those rules and regulations were. But it would be almost impossible to pull the pool so close up to the house to keep everything inclusive of drainage and grading outside of that 100-foot buffer. And as Nick pointed out, the wetland zone is maybe 3 square feet when it's all said and done. And there really were, and you could read it in the report, no plantings that
That's
were.
neither here nor
To
there.
be fair, you know why? Because if there
that's
was a wetland
a
on the
non-issue.
other property, you could still be within that buffer.
No,
So
I get it,
that's
but
not a
I'm,
good argument.
Yeah,
but everything else made sense.
Okay,
Almost, except it would be easy to pull it back. And if it is easy to pull it back, and I wasn't here last, the last presentation, that would have been the first question to say, why wouldn't you just do it? And I understand the grading it needs to be, but just to, the first order of issues here are avoid the impact, so your reasoning that you can't pull it back is what?
well, we didn't say we couldn't, it's just that you are still going to have grading within the.
Agreed, no, understood.
So, at that point in time, as Nick pointed out, the line just skirts through a little bit of the wall and the planting area. And above and beyond aesthetics, it's just giving them a functional space as far as, the actual space is concerned.
And my only concern is, there is 100-foot buffer and it is 100 feet, it's not 95, it's not 92. And the next person that comes by and says, well, I only need 7 feet. So I would still ask, is there a reason not, understand the impact and the regrading, but why wouldn't you move it to the 100-foot line to the face of the wall and avoid the buffer? Because we are tasked to avoiding impact to the buffer.
I mean, up until this point, we weren't really requested to do so. So we were working.
I'm only asking why. I wasn't here at the other meeting. And I understand the regrading, that makes sense to me, and it's lawn, so it'll still be lawn. And the grading only will improve the drainage. But as far as the buffer goes, that should still be something that you as a team would address. Why do you need to go into the 100-foot buffer if it can be avoided?
Well, again, there is no way to avoid working within the buffer for this project, no matter what we do.
I understand the grading,
So
but putting a physical structure in the buffer is my point. You're putting a wall in the buffer.
okay, I mean, if it is the consensus of the board that that is the easiest path to approvals and being done with this, we could figure out a way to accommodate that. Up until this question being brought up, it wasn't an issue to be.
No, understood.
So,
I mean, I would suggest it meet the code, which is 100 feet. I understand the grading and the other work associated with it, because that.
It's the
Only
question
approves.
that we're required to ask of
Right,
applicants.
it's just the next person comes in and says, well, I only need 7 feet, not 4 feet, but why not? So
So is it like 3 rows of bricks? I mean, that's what you're asking for, as it's depicted?
I would say that the 100 feet should be at the face of the wall so that it is outside the
Right,
buffer.
so I'm saying like if you eliminate 3 rows of bricks here in this Tetris formation, that you may accommodate that.
Whatever the right
Okay,
number is. And if it makes it easy to keep a brick, I wouldn't argue about an inch, so that you're not having slivers of, but I think
Right.
we should honor what the
understood, yeah.
intent of the code is to avoid, except where it, can't be helped.
And I'm not the designer, that was just one example.
No, but it was a good
Yeah.
point, not trying to be ridiculous, and if it's half a brick, don't do that, but lay it out so that we avoid and that way we meet our, the intent and the letter of the code. And I only have one other question, that when you do the excavation for the Cotex, I see you have a silt fence, the plastic fencing. But I would suggest, a line of hay bales or some other silt protection, just so it doesn't, pass on through the property line. If you could just enhance that protection a little bit.
yeah, that's not a problem. Most of the contractors that I've suggested for this job will put a row of hay bales on the downside of grade against the silt fence. So I don't see that being an issue whatsoever.
Okay,
We could pull,
yeah, I just didn't see it on the drawing.
yeah, and we can pull, like I said, we can, if the consensus is to move this forward, that we bring back that entire area 3 or 4 feet as we, once I scale it, to accommodate all, I don't see an issue with it.
Okay, great. That'd be my comment.
Yeah. So is this the public hearing then? That we spoke about last time? That there would be an opportunity for public comment?
That was the next application where the mailings went out
I
late.
see, okay.
Yeah, this one always had just the mailings were on time.
Alright, so were there any other public comments, anyone who wanted to be heard with regard to this?
Is this the final public comment period?
For this application?
I mean, no, you know, there's nothing I can do, it's the design is the design, it
Right.
completely changes I don't understand the 4 feet up, but again, it's personal design.
Mm.
But I, again, my only legitimate concern was the water, that's all I'm worried about, so.
Well, it sounds like, and you
No,
know,
it sounds like it's
we'll
being
see.
addressed, and
It
I
sounds
like
like
the idea
there-
of tying it in, cause I didn't understand why that isolation road was there, and that doesn't make noise of any sort, right? That the industrial size, I didn't think so, it's just dredging it
Think
through,
of
so
it as a
that
big
like a.
hole in the ground filled with water.
Do you have
Yeah,
a
you before
subterranean
they
layer,
proceed
maybe
or
if
turn
you're
or
doing
anything
something
like
wrong?
that.
Yeah, ideally, this should mean less water.
Right.
That's the
So it's
design.
about
Right,
a foot and a half,
and I-
the top of it's about
we
a
had a
foot.
conversation actually, me and
And
Ms.
then it goes
Putnam
down
about
here.
that, where this project doesn't rise to this magnitude, but there've been a couple larger projects that have been proposed whereby I think Steve, as the former environmental coordinator, definitely suggested one, and for a current one, I suggested one that was before the planning board. And we wanted a water budget analysis because of concern of the adjacent wetland, that now that you're developing this site, you're gonna have to pick up all this water that used to formerly go to, you know, you're gonna shrink, dry out, not impact, and you don't know, so that's why, in theory, when they have to, comply with chapter 108A, that's, the bottom line is it's not supposed to increase, that's for sure.
Right.
And that's why, for all the new impervious, whatever trickled off of the lawn on another part of the property is gonna most likely continue, that's not what they're.
Except now there's less
obligated
lawn
to do.
because it's gonna be.
And there's more
yeah.
impervious, that's
Right.
what's so shocking is the amount of impervious surface, I guess. That, and where would the water go, but it
Well,
sounds like it's
that's
all
where, right, that's
contained,
the
so-
stuff that's gonna now have a place to go, other than where gravity would have taken it.
Right,
Can I ask a quick, is it possible to make it pervious?
Impervious.
No,
No,
pervious,
to make to use a
Something that would-
product that would,
make it more pervious.
So I'll
Sorry, yeah.
I'll
I
say
was
that
getting
you,
messed up with that.
you guys could discuss that from an environmental review board perspective, from the town engineer's perspective, and I know I'm not the engineer, and Nick, you could echo this, agree, disagree, even if you make it pervious, you're still going through this exercise
That's
to
right.
pick up
Yeah,
stormwater.
that's
per
correct.
way down.
It's just gonna be
Because,
down instead of
because the
sideways.
properties in the watershed, we need to do this design, no matter if it's pervious or impervious, so.
Right.
We would need to treat for water quality, we would need to treat for the 100-year storm, just because of where the property is. And there are precautions that, it's not only for the stormwater, throughout the course of construction, there are certain rules and weekly mandatory inspections that need to be done throughout construction, so there's a lot more than goes into it than just your run-of-the-mill construction project. Since we're adhering to DEC regulations, this has to be as you see it, so we are following exactly what the stormwater guidelines request.
right, and since new to the proposal is the planting plan, Dennis, did you have any comment or concern
No.
with regard to that?
No, I'm happy they wanna, have a little less lawn and a few more trees, I'm always appreciative of that. And I understand the purpose of it would be for screening, you have a recreational, facility in your backyard, it makes sense.
Okay, any other questions or comments from the board? No? All right, so. Sorry. Do we, can we vote subject to the amendment, or do we need
The
to see it again, the
modifications,
modification?
As long as they
What do you think?
Present it to Dennis, I'm good.
Yeah, cause they're just gonna have to resubmit the plan to show that, and then that would go in the BP file, and that's what would ultimately be constructed.
So it sounds like the modifications we discussed were pulling the hardscape out of the 100-foot buffer and catching the runoff from the entire from the wall and
From all
as
the
well,
improvements.
from all the improvements into the
New system.
new system, which would be appropriately sized to handle all of that.
In upgrading the protections along the right side of the property.
Right.
For silt runoff.
During work.
Right.
Yeah, gotcha, okay.
Okay, so subject to those amendments and modifications, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so then Dennis will handle it from here on in,
People.
as he does.
Yes.
Okay, terrific,
All right,
alright,
good luck.
thank you, good luck,
Thank you, Nick.
thanks very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thank you for allowing me to attend.
Sure.
Thank you for your input.
You are a citizen, it is your right.
Okay,
I think the owner of 31 Woodville is here, let me just go grab them.
right.
All set?
All set?
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks,
Hey,
Nick.
Thank you, good luck.
Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Good night. What is the address for this one?
The one
Oh, no.
oh, there.
This is 31 Wood Mill Road.
Right, it doesn't appear on the
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you very
Bye.
much.
Just a funny thing, my son is actually a landscape architecture student, he's getting a master's in landscape architecture, so I wish he could have been
You should have
here
brought
for
it.
that. This read,
Sure, yeah.
my read, she has a read and I
That's
have a book
amazing.
and my read just started it, yeah, so, yeah, but he wants to do like
There's supposed to be a meeting next door, what
different,
happened?
you
They
know,
had
like
a
city
bunch of
type
chairs
work,
over there.
so it's not
Oh,
really
it's not-
Sorry. I wish I could show, I did take pictures, guys, but I'm not gonna show you, but it's just completely changing the entire, you know,
For sure.
rolling hills back there and it's a beautiful, you know, or it looks like, and now it's gonna be one big landscape, it's sad, and 4 feet up. Yeah, I know, I don't understand it. Should be pretty nice. Bye everyone, thank you.
Bye.
Alright,
Alright, have a seat, guys, and chair.
okay, so this is a wetland permit. Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry, I realized I need to get set up before we continue. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, alright, so this is an application for a wetland permit and a tree removal permit, which
You guys are just doing the.
We're just doing the
Yep,
wetland.
exactly,
at 31 Woodmill Road.
right.
Okay, who is here on behalf of the applicant?
Gilbert
Okay,
Fontana, the applicant, and I'm Jim Anacarico with Cronin Engineering.
okay, terrific. Who would like to orient us to the project?
I can certainly do that. So we have, it's a 2.3 acre parcel at 31 Woodland Avenue. It's triangular shaped parcel. It has a 2-story single family dwelling on it. Driveway comes off of the end of Woodmill Road and up around the back of the property. Much of the front of the property or the front yard, you know, proper to the front of the house is actually fairly steep. It's got a fairly steep slope in the back coming down towards the house. And it has a intermittent drainage channel that runs through the property, coming water flowing from south through to the north. What we are asking to do is create a approximately 30 by 60 foot flat play area. There really is no area for their children to play on the site. Part of that would require the removal of an 8-inch beech tree and a 12-inch red maple. As part of it, based on the code, we'd have to remove some invasive species on both sides of the intermittent channel and replant with a bunch of ferns think 242 on each side. So total of 484 firms. In addition to that, we're also looking to install this 7x14 swim spa just off the driveway where there's a garage underneath the house in the back, and just to the north of the driveway, we would put that. It's something that can be either placed on the ground on a sand pad, or it can actually be sunk partially into the ground. We don't really have, you had a preference for either one, but I think we talked about sinking it slightly into the ground, maybe 2 feet. So that doesn't require anything but an electrical connection. It's a unit that's purchased and brought to the site, put on site. It's got all the motor for the, it's basically you swim against the current. So it's really like an exercise spa. It doesn't require any, direct connection of water or anything like that. However, it does
And what's gonna be
operate.
around this proposed pool?
It's just grass area. That would be the cover over the flat area of the yard as well. So it'll all be, some of this is grass right now. It's just kind of steep, and it goes down even steeper, and there's really no flat area for their kids to have a play area.
And how long have you lived there?
We moved about a year and a half ago.
So, just for reference, like I said, this is intermittent drainage channel, really no water running through it most of the year. The 100-foot buffer, the entire house is within the 100-foot buffer, most of the driveway, and any area that they actually have usable.
So if you have a above ground swim spa pool situation, you're partially submerge it, it's gonna extrude 2 feet, 3 feet from the ground around it. I don't quite understand, you're not gonna surround it with anything, there's no.
Whatever fencing would be required by code would have to go around it.
So we would just take out a bit in the yard.
If it were 4 feet above grade, I don't believe we need any fencing, just like like a above ground pool. So that could certainly be done that way.
But there's no hardscape around it, it's just grass right
Right.
up to the edge of it.
Right.
So this is really a grading discussion around here,
Right.
whether
Our conversation at the last meeting was whether this was just an impervious surface, which we sort of think it is.
the pool itself.
Is it a pool, is it yeah.
Right, cause the board has approved hot tubs index in the wetland buffer. So, hot tubs have different configurations, different uses, different whatever. So admittedly, cause I think it was Ivan who asked at the last meeting, why is this before us? And I said, because I'm not sure what to qualify as 7x14 swim spa.
Big hot tub.
That's basically it. So, and I think Ivan also brought up, which is probably a good idea. I don't think you could ever quantify what that limit would be, but when do you go from swim spa to something that the ERB would go? Let's not go there. Now,
So what's the difference between that and just an above grade pool then, right? A 30-foot above grade pool. Just
Just
sitting on the
size.
grass.
right,
Good point.
which has existed, right?
As we were discussing this, we were thinking, we wish you were there because we know you have thoughts on these subjects.
Wow. It's an interesting one.
We ever had one before like that, where
So
above ground?
you had received an application for an in-ground pool. And this is before my time, and the applicants had a child with special needs, and
Very,
needed the
very
pool.
familiar with that one, yes.
Yep,
Right, that's
and
the way
then
it
you
shows it.
conceded and gave an above
In the
ground
deck
pool.
and the,
Yep,
but that was almost the same thing, almost a big hot tub. It wasn't it wasn't a full-size pool, it was
Mhm.
kind of
That's
a,
right.
it was more like a
It was a therapeutic.
therapeutic something.
Right,
Right.
and there was a particular need that had been identified by the family and the child.
Alright, we'll break it down into the two parts, right? Let's talk about the grading piece.
Okay. So is the grading piece going right up to the water course?
No, it's going fairly close to it. We graded it down so we would, not have to, construct a retaining wall or anything like that. We probably could pull that back a bit if we did put some, say 1 or 2 foot boulders in, that wouldn't really be considered a retaining wall. We could kind of soften the grade there a bit, or bring it up so we didn't have to go as far out. Right now, it's, 1-on-2 slope, just to, which would be a normal, gradual slope down.
So the first question that's always raised is, can you move it out of the buffer zone?
No. Simple answer to that is I would say no.
And the no is B plus Y.
I mean, we'd end up having to do something here, which is way too steep. And back here, it really, is on the other side of their driveway. It's, close to the intermittent, channel anyway. Down here, the entire property is basically wetland buffer, or what, from here over. It goes beyond the property line. This is too steep up here, they don't want it anywhere way down further from their house, just wouldn't want to get my kids down there and get them back, and that, quite a ways to go.
I hear, I'm just asking.
Yeah. So this seems to be the spot that makes the most sense.
If you look at the way the land is, that's really no other option. The front of the house is very steep. All the side around here, there's massive trees, boulders everywhere.
And that would all be within the buffer anyway,
Right.
from what I'm seeing. It looks like the only piece that's not in the buffer is this corner here.
Basically this
that
corner
triangle,
right
yeah.
here, right.
And that's the front yard, which would have its own probably restrictions in terms of building a pool, right?
Well, definitely any sort of structure, right? And
All this area is way too steep, especially with the slope restriction.
we've also got the septic area is also in the front of the house here as well.
That's an interesting one.
Where does this water course go?
I should have
I don't
known
know.
that, sir. This is,
Ends up there,
I wanna say. This is eventually floated getting brook, possibly on this side of the road.
Yeah,
There you have it, yeah.
So it's existing lawn, and you're asking to regrade the lawn, really. Hold off the pool for a second.
yeah, right.
Mhm.
So, if
This
it's
is-
already grass,
Well, this is, I wouldn't call this grass.
Yeah,
Thi-
that's
thi-
probably leaf litter.
This is
wooded.
this is an interesting spot. He certainly has woodlands and woodland floor. This area, I assume, prior owner, singular, plural, whatever, this is kinda has served definitely as a bit of a landscape dump, I've seen worse. And, just seems to be a lot of competition from, some of the invasive species in this area as well, because of the disturbance and whatnot, and unfortunately, really not functioning that great as a sort of like woodland floor area. So that's why, a lot of, which is a lot of the woods in Newcastle, you know, they're kind of void of sub-canopy, they're void of, you know, herb cover and, you know, so, I mean, that's why there's, you know, opportunity to mitigate for this. You know, the expanse would be limited if they wanted to do a wall, obviously, as to how much you would push this out, you know, this is definitely the less intricate of the two options.
So it's not really functioning much of as a usable buffer now.
They're taking advantage of a spot that is, I'll say, noticeably different from the more undisturbed areas of the property that are woodland, yes.
In exchange, we're getting sort of vast areas of Christmas farm.
You're getting deer resistant herb cover, right? That's always good.
And we're removing some invasive,
Is there
Japanese barberry.
Barberry, yeah.
Burn.
Yeah, burning bush, yeah.
Alright, so then the use of the surface area is a net positive as opposed to a detriment?
I mean, honestly, if that was the only proposal, it wouldn't have made it to the ERB. I probably would have taken care of this as environmental coordinator level. Because the chlorinated box appeared, that's what sent me here.
Alright, so that part of it, okay.
We put, yeah, we wanna hold that fun, let's keep going on topic A, or we have more on that before we go to the pool, not pool? Or we go with topic A?
Sounds like it.
Did you have any questions or concerns about the grading?
I'm curious what's gonna happen to the water when you do this, but it sounds like an adventure.
Sounds like a question.
Yeah.
Oh, so you mean the
As an
water's
engineer, I
coming
guess,
through?
when I would look at this and I say, well, when you regrade this, what do you think will happen?
When we regrade that close to the channel, you're saying?
Yeah.
Well, I think, I mean, I've been there, I don't see any scour that's like, you know, the water's raised up 3 feet high and scoured through, and I don't see anything like that, so I don't really see much of a change at all.
And this would just be a grass slope?
Yeah,
Going
this, I
down.
mean, we're taking this 44 contour, which is about where it's gonna flatten out and bring that over to 444. And then it'll just gradually slope down, so it'll be, you know, there'll be a slight pitch.
Sort of 6 feet?
We've got about 30 feet. From here to here, yeah,
Oh,
total.
from this to the top,
Oh, yeah, we're 4 feet to the top.
4 feet.
Yeah, it's a 4 foot slope basically and 8 feet.
And just for that, would you put some sort of landscaping to keep it from a mowed area that gets cut down to something that would act?
You mean to the other, on the slope
On the
side?
slope,
yeah,
On
we
the
could-
slope side of the fence?
We could plant juniper, we could plant, I don't, yeah, man,
Just-
you'd probably be
just-
better off telling me what to plant.
I mean,
but-
you know, I was gonna say, I think another thing that might, you know, just, at least until it gets established, I mean, you're gonna wanna let, you know, whatever you seed it with go to maturity, don't treat it as a lawn,
Right,
you know what I'm saying? At that point, I mean, I think it's good opportunity to, you know, honestly, if you wanted to create like a wildflower area, frankly, you know, cause that's something that, you know, you just worry when you start, you know, when you start bringing in fill and you start regrading, I mean, you know, dropping trees into that, you know, that's a little hairy.
Mhm.
You know, but then even if you stake it, what are you staking it to? I mean, you know, this is all, you know, it's not virgin soil, so that's what I would be concerned about. But I think you could be creative with your seed mixes and, you know,
Make it a
like have some, yeah,
no mow type thing?
yeah, mow it once a year, twice a year, and I think it would, you know, help even with the stability of what you have there. You know, and keeping its form and function.
that's not a problem for us.
So this was the one that needed to have the notices sent out
They were sent out, nobody's contacted me. It's ample time, since those notices went out to this scheduled meeting.
Yes, okay,
Absolutely.
terrific.
And that's the pool and how to deal with,
Swim spot.
So at the last meeting, we discussed the swim spa, and we were told that there's no, water isn't dumped from it at any point. We were told water isn't brought in, we were told there's no external plumbing to it, which is very unusual for a chlorinated body of water, but this is what we were told.
Like a hot tub.
so this thing will just run,
It's got electric to it, so it's obviously
Right, you're gonna
got,
run powered, it's
right,
self-contained.
it's got a motor that creates power
Heater.
when you, and it's got,
You're on town water at the. You're on water.
so this is gonna be an electric tub, you're not using gas?
no, electric, right there.
You put solar on the roof.
So we tried to, but there's
Too many trees.
Unless we cut the
Right.
trees, which is not the idea.
For some people it is, I'm glad for you it's not.
So is there a town code for freestanding spas of what to do with?
7x14.
Yeah.
No, not specifically. I mean, they're gonna need a building permit for the grading and electrical, presumably for the pool, yeah, so.
And I
The
would
department's gonna
imagine-
review from that perspective, yeah.
I would imagine we have to meet whatever New York State codes there are for hot tubs somewhere, and pools, whatever.
For the electrical
Probably a
side,
mix.
yeah,
Yeah.
for the electrical outlets and all that stuff.
Right, that's less than 5,000 square feet of disturbance, so we're going to have to deal with stormwater most likely, so,
Right.
yeah, okay.
So to us, it's a small impermeable surface, it's like.
Right,
It's something that can just be removed later and
That's.
It is removable.
It happens in one unit and maybe.
Put it in,
it's a
you
non,
take it out.
it's a non-permanent,
That's it, and we can.
Yeah.
we do it the same.
yeah, like,
that's good.
Not near neighbor.
Yeah, we've got, this neighbor to the northwest is lower, neighbor up here is much higher, we really don't have visual impacts on anybody.
I mean, I'm not sure our purview that, are you lighting this thing up or, you put in a pool in the backyard in the dark, you're gonna want. My guess is,
Didn't answer that.
right, my guess is you're gonna go from here to here, you're gonna be wet, you're gonna be cold in the winter, you're gonna track mud and dirt into the house, it's gonna be more than just a grassy path.
But there's all the driveway here and just a bit of grass facing.
Yeah, they would probably go down the deck, obviously, but
We
Well,
usually
they-
tell the
this is-
house is
yeah,
like here, so.
yeah. they do have steps down
Good.
to the back,
Oh, definitely good.
to the driveway.
So question, you wanna put another deck? You come down the deck, I don't know, doesn't.
Now you're concerned.
Still be within the buffer.
Withdrawn.
Alright,
Yeah,
No matter where we move.
yeah,
Got
can't,
nothing.
yeah. I was,
can't think of anything other than the lights, the pathway to it and. At some point, even if you have to service it, you do have to dump the water, right? So, even,
how many gallons does it hold?
I mean, it's 7x14 by 4, so I could quickly figure it out.
Engineering, come on.
I mean,
You're gonna cut that yourself too?
I would think that,
2,500,
so that there should be a dry well someplace. So that when you do service it and have to shut it down, there is a place to dump
Dump
the
it
water.
without it being
Right, or
just-
drain, you'll connect the hose to it and just drop it into a dry well.
Right,
But I would think something like that kind of makes sense.
That's
we
what
could, I think we talked about that last time, we could put a call tech in, with, a port where we could actually drain the water from it too. Yeah, typically like with any pool, at the end of the year, you're not putting chemicals in. I don't do that with mine. So, it's, the most of the chlorine is dissipated by the time you're gonna empty the water, any of it. This doesn't need to be fully emptied. right?
If something breaks and you
Right.
gotta.
Yeah, right.
As a
Whatever.
safeguard in season, right?
Yeah.
Right, if we ever
That'd be
did
the
that.
only thing I could think of, is just put a dry well in for
Right.
the what if, other than that.
Would it make sense to put it in the area that you're grading, since it's all, you could just bury it in there?
That kind of defeat the purpose of the grading.
We probably could do it there.
No, it'd be
I mean,
subsurface, I'm saying, yeah,
No,
or just to the edge of it.
yeah, or just to
Cause
the,
that's your pitch, that's your direction,
Yeah.
right, so, yeah.
Yeah, just.
I mean, I would do it somewhere north of the swim spa, somewhere, you know,
Right.
between the area that's being
Yeah,
lined
but
up.
easy enough to do it
Yeah.
in the regraded
Right.
area.
Right.
Yeah, so. Alright, and Dennis, you're good with the mitigation plan?
Yeah, I'm happy with this approach, yep.
We have a plan.
We have a plan. Do I have a motion to approve
The addition of
with the addition of the
dry well and some NOMO area to Dennis's purview?
On slope, yeah,
On slope.
Second that motion.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations,
Thank you.
enjoy your swim spot.
We wanna come see.
When the power goes out, make sure you. Drink it down.
It's a hot tub.
Thanks very much for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, you too, thank you very much.
Alright. So what else do we have here?
Well, we're back to trees.
We're back to trees,
Yep,
where it all began.
exactly. Okay, time for the trees, we're going to what?
I thought you said there was only one person on the agenda tonight. You didn't say this was a packed agenda.
It's really a.
But we turned it into a packed agenda.
Hello.
Hi.
Okay,
Okay. So, who is here for the applicant? Okay,
You've been here before, right?
yeah.
yeah,
With the original guys.
I'll summarize, yep. So if you recall, the applicant, Tom Leggio, did receive a ERB tree removal permit to construct a single-family home at 35 Red Oak Lane. The permit stated 42 replacement trees were required for the removals. Half of those replacement requirements were accommodated through a contribution to the tree bank fund. The other 21 remaining trees were gonna be planted on site. The applicant is here to request a revision with respect to the 21 trees that required replanting by planting in essence less than that, not zero, less than that, and then trying to make up the balance with additional contributions to the tree bank fund. So that's the broad overview of this applicant returning. Since it was ERB approved, it's the ERB's decision as to potentially amend the permit conditions.
Alright, so what we ended up doing was with the river birch and the ornamental trees are on the plan. And we were required to put basically 2.5 caliber trees in. We actually replaced river birch, 6 of them, 22-foot trees, multi-clump, 3 and 4 caliber stems, 5 and 6 on each tree, which took up basically that whole area. We planted the 3 ornamentals, 15 feet tall, again, 3-inch calibers, you know. So with all this excess, not planting little trees, planting substantial trees, we will request, and we also replanted a tree that was on the property into the corner, which was a split leaf red maple. So we just basically want to eliminate 11 trees, which will be, you know, we'll pay into the tree fund. This is where all the water issues were. with the neighbors, which isn't coming off our property. We ended up putting in a rain garden as per the engineer for the downspouts. We have a storm drain in the driveway as per the engineer. All that's been done and signed off on. We were also allowed to leave 3 trees in the expansion area of where the septic is. Huge trees which we didn't have to take down. And we also left a bunch of trees in the front, upper corner, that is actually on the town's property that were originally gonna come down. We also left them there. With all that, there's not much room for us to plant any more trees because of the size of the trees we planted.
Are the
And,
trees that you planted larger than what was on the plan?
oh yeah. And
So, yeah, I mean, it sounded like based on, nursery availability, that's the trees that you get.
Upgraded it.
So, yeah, that could impede what you originally planned in terms of being able to jam X number of trees in.
So our discussion here tonight is specifically about these trees, but it
That's-
sounds like
that's all
there's
there is, that's all there
more
is.
conversation about this property that's been going
Well,
on. But let's
I'm
keep
sure
it,
they have something to say, but
let's keep it to the
Wow.
trees at first.
So do you agree that there's no place to put 11 trees? You said?
yeah,
Right, so all I'm gonna say is that, the focus, for the replanting was between 39 and 35 red oak. And so that's where all the replantings have occurred. When I asked the applicant, you obviously proposed to do a green screen, which made sense to the, south side, of the house. That to me was where the change was, that, in essence, basically, where the trees are coming off the table, so to speak, for lack of a better description.
So the trees that were on the plan that are not being planted are on the south side.
In essence, these 10 trees.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they did relocate a Japanese maple, and they did propose to put a Japanese maple in the front, so instead of purchasing one, they moved one, so that made sense to me. I was like, okay, I kind of got that. I just,
What's on the south side?
it's as open as Throg's Neck.
there's gonna, the fences that are in the back of the property will be continued up that side.
Fences, not trees, fences.
Yeah, fence, and not trees.
Does the property drain to the south?
Yes.
Well, there's also a berm there that prevents any water from flowing onto their property. Again, their issue is with the neighbor next to us, not really with us, that's why we're here. In the last meeting we had, no water has come off our property onto theirs.
This
I will against, because I have the picture to show the water is coming from your property too. Not just from the one behind me. I have the picture to show everyone.
You can show pictures.
Okay.
So this is a little bit tied into the tree thing, cause we're saying there's bare untreed land here and there's water flowing down the berm over.
Well, he's going to put the evergreens on the right side.
Yeah.
We have proposed 21 trees, and we
Just
didn't
so-
agree, but that's what we got. Now
Just-
he put in 9.
These are the trees we're.
Yes, now
There's
over that
question
side,
over
there's
here.
absolutely nothing, and that's really like, it's pitched like this, so that whole
Right,
corner
and it
goes
pitch-
down
it
into my
pitches-
yard.
There's a berm here that the engineers made us put in, there's a rain garden here, all our downspouts go into that rain garden. Any water that's pitched this way goes into that rain garden.
And we've known that because it's rained.
It's rained in 6 months, and we've been there 7 months.
You
Have you
haven't had
guys
that
made
in
a
there for
complaint?
6 months.
Wait, have you guys made a complaint in 7 months to the town?
No, I'll be
Okay.
honest.
No, okay.
This summer doesn't have a lot of rain.
True.
Everybody
Yeah,
knows.
nice drive.
We've been there
Right.
7 months and
No,
then
you're
And,
not
uh,
getting stuff on plan. I disagree. You have
This is
green
the,
lawns.
I want to show everyone
Now
that
it's a drought.
Yeah, sure.
before
have
they
green
they
lawns.
remove the
Just
tree.
talking over everybody. Good.
Okay.
Finish.
Sorry,
No.
this is before they remove the tree. And this is their property now.
Right,
So
and when that,
this is over here?
and when that occurred, we added another one
This
up
here.
here, we added another silt fence here, and we
Yeah.
hay baled all this. And that was in the first week that we did it, and that's why, since that, there was no problem.
I want to show everyone,
Yeah,
this
that's
is
okay.
before the tree removed.
You had 7 months to make a complaint to the town.
No, you need to see, when it rain, and this is my property,
That's when you get the
All
most
the
rain
water.
in the spring.
coming to my property.
Right, but this was before the tree removal, right?
Yeah, that's before the tree.
So-
So I want to know
So my
after the
question,
tree.
how does that help your condition? Because they're not required to change the course of drainage throughout the neighborhood, right? They just are required to pick up what they.
That is
Yeah,
his
yeah,
property
yeah,
though.
yeah.
That
Yeah,
is his
I'm
property.
here.
No. Let's see. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it
This
goes,
is-
That's
this
my
way.
property.
It goes
but-
Okay, so
yeah.
that's her property. This is, her fence comes in, here. These are the
Yeah,
fences here.
Yeah.
No,
You know, it
no, this is the
starts here
fence
and it
here.
just
It
slopes
goes this
down.
way.
that's all
Her,
I'm saying.
the fences come this way.
So I'm sorry, this
This fence goes this way,
this fence here,
comes this way and goes, down this road.
so this fence, your property is over here?
Yeah.
And this fence is over here?
Oh, no, this is his property, and
No, yeah.
here is another house, I live here, but the water I show you is from here.
I'm just trying to get, whose fence is this? And where is that fence?
The house behind me,
The house
So
behind.
this, so it's on the other side,
yeah,
okay,
on the other side.
That's what we were here for in the beginning.
okay. So these are the trees we're talking about, so we're not?
Those are the ones they took out. There's nothing there
No,
now.
these are the
There's
ones
nothing there.
These are the ones we were gonna replant, but we didn't because this isn't causing a water issue for them.
So,
But I don't know why you
I-
say it's not causing a water issue.
Time out,
Okay.
my turn. These are the trees that you're asking not to put in?
Yes.
Okay,
They're
These are the
basically
trees that-
privacy trees and
but by permit, these are the trees that were
Yeah.
supposed to be put in?
Mhm.
Okay, and the reason you don't wanna put these trees in is why?
we're gonna put a privacy fence there and like I said, anything that comes down here is going into that rain garden. The engineers all signed off on all the drainage we've
So
done.
trees only function as stormwater, I think that's what the board's getting at, trees.
If the trees were shown as part of the permit, and there's no reason that they physically can't be put in,
There's no reason.
why wouldn't the trees go in and we don't have an issue? It's just a question,
Well-
I'm not,
Budget, of course, is one.
budget,
Oh,
You were talking
But
about
that's
paying
another
into
story.
the tree bank
hold on,
instead.
hold on, let's just
Yeah, well,
back,
10 trees
no,
versus.
to back up a
versus
second.
3 grand into the tree bank, big
There
difference.
was an agreement made.
No, I understand
And
that.
a permit was issued for a scope of work.
Mhm.
Right, wrong, indifferent, that's what the parties agreed to. My question is there a reason those trees can physically be put in? And it's a yes or no question.
Is there a reason? No.
Okay.
Other
My
than,
vote is put the trees in and we're done. That's what the permit was based on, all the work that was approved was based on. Unless there's a reason.
let me ask you this question. I believe that the trees that we have to put in are 8 to 10 foot expensive. We can put 5-foot trees in to compensate for what we did over here. It'd be half the amount of money for us, and we'll put in the 10 trees.
So here you're saying now is you can put the trees in.
Well,
but
I'll
because-
put them in up because I have to.
No, no.
I
Well,
want.
you have to, because
Yeah, I
the
know.
permit says you have
Right,
to.
yeah.
But but are you asking now, because you've done other things on the site, over what you were supposed to
Right.
do, can you horse trade that for smaller trees?
Yes.
Okay, that's a different question to me than,
Okay,
I don't wanna put in the trees.
no, well, it's not like I didn't wanna put them in, but eventually, you know.
Yes, you did, that's why we're here.
Well, yeah, exactly. Modify them. If you go down that road, yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, so now you're asking, I'll put in trees, but can I put in smaller trees, cause I've done more in other places?
Right.
So what does the permit say, 8 to 10 foot?
So, right, for evergreens, it's a minimum height of 8 to 10 feet, that's it.
And we can only get credit for 9 of them, so,
The ones that you put in already. Yeah, so the analogy that I always use with people is that like, if King Kong ran a nursery, King Kong can get you a tree that's X number of size and diameter, right? But the goal of the tree bank is just replacing diameter, right? There's a whole landscape and effect and visual that goes into it as well. So the code, I didn't write it, but my opinion is that the reason they settled on the diameters for deciduous and heights for evergreens that they did is they wanted to find that balance between what looks like a tree when you install it and what has a reasonable likelihood percentage-wise of survivability going forward, because the bigger the caliber of the trees that you put in, the likelihood of survival goes down. The smaller ones, you know, if you go below that threshold, you know, the likelihood may go up, but not so significant that, you know, you don't want to lose the that desired effect of like, yeah, you put the trees in, but I can't see them, yeah, but I want them to survive, yeah, but they still do, you know, just as good at 2.5. Why are you putting them in, you know, the 1-inch ones? So those are the numbers that, you know, the code had settled on, in my opinion.
So there's a reason why the town prefers 8 to 10 foot.
Right, and there are times, you know, I'm not saying this site accommodates that, but there are times that trees of that size I wouldn't recommend, and I would reduce size, especially like, you know, with there's a lot of rock, if you're on slope, you know, those considerations. Then it doesn't make sense to maybe put something that is listed in the code because it would be at a disadvantage because of its environment.
Would there be a challenge in getting, what does it call for 9 trees right now?
Well, those are 10, right? There's 10.
There's 10 on that side.
Would it be a challenge to get 10 trees of that size into that?
A little bit, but the nursery basically is got whatever they got. Lowe's has 4, 5 and 6 footers, which I can pick up 10 of them and put them in, and if that's what you guys want to require, you know.
So are you saying that there's no nursery stock of the 8 to 10
They're
foot?
basically running out of them, yeah. Yeah, that's why, and that's another reason why we went with bigger trees here instead of getting smaller ones and
Because you had to
less
take what
stems.
they had.
Right, we took what they had. At a considerable higher cost also. But, you know, to accommodate the issue with the water, we wanted to make sure we had the right amount of trees to soak up any extra water. And being that the river birch
are good for that.
Are good for that. That's why we planted. And 22 footers, you know, the root balls were 4 foot by 3 foot, big trees, not little
So
stumps.
you did all the right things.
Right, so I mean, that's why we're here, just trying to amend it a little amount.
I don't know what nurseries have, like,
Yeah,
I'll take your word for it, or,
well, you know,
confirm with, you know, Dennis what is commercially available.
It's a very popular tree, I'll say that.
What type of tree is it?
It's those arborvitaes, they grow like,
Green giant.
they
Green
plant
giants.
them like soldiers,
Okay.
grow very,
very tall.
I'm pretty sure our last
Is-
applicant is about to buy 110 of them or something, so yeah.
I'm sure they can find it because one of my neighbor, they just plant those kind of tree in
The new construction on
the lorry.
Right,
Lorry.
and again,
They
those
plant
are,
it last for
right, they're
the
not
whole
8
entire
to
yard.
10 footers either though, I've seen them.
Dennis, and we're still okay for planting in November or in October?
I'm good with through Thanksgiving, till Thanksgiving, yeah, for evergreens, yes.
I mean, that at least takes care of both sides, cause it left the other side completely naked. And that side is where the water does come down, runs down the side of my yard like a river. And that, when we had all the trees,
I
so
mean-
I don't know what's gonna happen now.
Listen, this is for your benefit, I'm saying this in recorded public forum. If you deviate from the approved plan, every eyedropper of water that appears in the town that didn't appear before, where this house is, they can come back to you, they can come back to us, and you just say, well, it wasn't built in accordance with the approved plan. Whether or not those
Whether there's a
modifications
relationship.
had any exactly to do with it.
Someone put them there for a reason, so they must have thought that would help with the water
I
situation.
put them there for privacy.
Right, I mean,
Those are on the property line of the other house.
At this point,
Yeah.
it's part of the permit,
Yeah, no, I
so
understand that,
So I think the trees need to go in as per the permit. If there's an issue that there isn't commercial availability of the size that's in the permit, then I think it's a conversation of what would be acceptable.
Right.
That, and I don't know if,
Would you accept the 5-footers that we can?
If they want,
Get rid
if
of
nothing
the-
else was available, yes. Cause
Right.
at least you're fortunate that you're dealing with a species that, you know, relatively speaking, has a reputation for growing fast.
Yeah, they grow a couple feet in.
I would just suggest that there be some sort of documentation that said, I went to so-and-so, so-and-so, and so-and-so, that they're not available, so at least there's a history of why the decision is being made to go from whatever the
8
permit
to
said
10
to
6 to
some,
8.
something less.
Okay.
Where it would be more important to get them in as opposed to wait next year for
Yeah.
that size
Right.
to be available.
And I would also be amenable to, because, you know, to make the mathematics work, if you could consider 12 of those instead of 10 of those, it gets you to 21. You know what I'm saying? Cause I understand why you didn't plant the 2 in the front. You've already put in 9. If we get 10, that gets us up to 19. Technically, you need to have 21, and that's what would close out the permit. So that's the only reason why I mentioned 12 instead of 10. So nobody comes back with the accounting audit.
So you kinda got half of what you were asking.
Alright, what was the other half?
The ability to use a smaller tree.
Okay, good, that's okay, I'm okay with that.
Thank you.
Terrific, maybe a harmonious neighborhood.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks,
guys.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
We'll see you all again.
Yeah, oh yeah, thank you for bringing these. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Nice to see you.
Hope we have a better spring.
Oh, yeah.
Good to see you.
Take care now.
Bye-bye.
Alright.
I hope for her it doesn't rain, but I hope for everybody else it does.
Yeah. Alright, so is that the end of our agenda?
That it is.
Do we need to motion this or
Excellent.
just
Gotta close it, right?
Oh, you mean in terms of the
action?
the action, what we, Dennis, do we need to, does the ERB need to vote on that? I don't think so, cause they're still complying with the
They're
permit.
still planting, they're just asking for, in my opinion, even for the planning board approved projects, if things meet the definition of a field change, it doesn't really need to have to go back to the board for that approval, and that in essence, assuming documentation, proof, it's a field change.
Yeah, I
So
just
then
think
we
they
get the
should
trees.
provide you with that, just to.
Yep, understood.
Okay, terrific. Alright, so if there is nothing else, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Until next time. Motion
Until
to
next
adjourn.
Okay, all in favor?
Huh?
Aye.